Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. I'm going to tell you something I know as a teacher. As a teacher in a classroom, you always have a small percentage of the people who are just not ready to learn. They're not in the frame of mind for what we're doing. And I don't mean one day, I mean overall. Like, this is just not their year, or they're just not mature enough to make it happen. And so, what they will do is this particular percentage of the folks become a disruptive force, and they make it difficult, if not impossible, for other people to learn. Right? They impair the learning process. They contaminate the learning environment with their inability to cope. And this doesn't just happen in the fifth grade or in the eighth grade. I'll never forget the time at Berkeley, at UC Berkeley. I was in a lecture that had this was a big lecture with, like, let's say 200 people, and the professor was delivering the lecture, and there was a student who started to drop a penny onto the desk. And the professor stopped to say, stop with the penny or the coin, whatever it was. Stop with the coin. And he started to lecture again, and a few minutes later, this guy does it again. And so the professor says, okay, either you're going to stop or I'm going to stop. And so he starts to lecture again. And you wouldn't believe it, but this guy drops the coin on the desk again. And so the professor stops. And he waited maybe a minute. And then he started to lecture again. And this guy drops the coin on the desk again. But this time, a group of students who were around him, identified that he was the one dropping the coin, man. And they grabbed him under both his arms and they dragged that guy out of the classroom. Now, these are nerds, okay? This is not Central High School in the middle of the hood. This is UC Berkeley, and half of those students are valedictorians. All of them have 3.5 GPA and above. But they value the learning experience. They're paying for this, and they want to learn, and they want to be successful, and so they don't tolerate people or things that would interrupt the learning process. And this reminds me of a verse of Ifa that tells of a time when Oromila sent his student, Mobolaji, to Isan Kingdom to practice Ifa on his behalf. And when the Mobolaji got to Isan, the people were defaming Oromila. In the north, in the south, in the east, in the west, they were defaming Oromila. They were gossiping about him, and they were abusing his name. Meanwhile, Oromila is back home in Ife, and he's casting Ifa the whole time, and he can see that this is what's happening. And so when Mobolaji returned, Oromila challenged him, and he says, Mobolaji, when they were abusing my name, why didn't you say something? Why did you stand by quietly when these people were abusing my name? And so Mobolaji said, oh, no, Baba, I didn't hear any of that. If I had heard them gossiping about you, if I had heard them talking badly about you, I would have taken my irukere in my right hand and I would have killed 20. I would have taken my irofa in my left hand and I would have killed 30. I would have taken my irukere and my irofa in both hands and I would have killed 50. I am a true defender and upholder of the wisdom of Ifa. And so it is, I want to urge everyone, if you learn from me, if you are enrolled in any of my courses, if you read my material, my books, or you follow me on social media, don't let people defame my name. Don't let people drag my name through the mud. Don't let people talk crazy about me. And that is the case not only for myself, but anybody who you learn from. Don't let anybody do that, right? And this is one reason why I always stand firmly with Dr. Umar. It isn't that he is my teacher, but I respect him as a man. I respect him as a courageous leader who's willing to get out there and use what he knows from his position and his discipline in order to serve the community. And I just noticed how just by sharing a post, a video about Dr. Umar, automatically I start getting craziness in the comment section. I start getting all kinds of defamatory, derogatory, outright foolish, childish, immature comments and messages that have nothing to do with the subject matter at hand or the problems that we face. Now, it would be different if we had all this luxury and things were just cushy for us, and you have this freedom and comfort to sit back and contemplate all the details of why you dislike somebody. But we got problems. We have real problems. You can point yourself in any direction: health, addiction, politics, law. You can look in any direction of the social order, and you can see that our people are suffering disproportionately. We don't have time to be throwing rocks at each other. We need to be solving problems. And we need to applaud the people who are willing to stand and help solve the problems in a real, organized, and efficient way. If you don't agree, then don't agree. Go to what you do. Because you could be a dentist and you can be fighting white supremacism. You could be a social worker. You could be a truck driver. You could be a banker. You could be an investor. There's pretty much any industry in the world that you can defend our people. There's almost nothing that we can point to say that we've got it made and we're absolutely comfortable. So you don't have time to be worried about what other people are doing. You need to mind your business and defend the community from wherever you stand. That needs to be your only concern. And so I want to urge people, everybody, stand and support the people who teach you and the people who guide you. Stand and support the people who you know are dedicating their lives to supporting and uplifting our community. Don't let people defame your leaders and your teachers. Don't sit by quietly, because in all sincerity, the naysayers and the detractors are a small percentage. They're a small percentage. They're just loud, and they're able to talk loud because they go unchecked. Nobody challenges them. You need to challenge them. I'm reminded of another verse of Ifa that tells us of the time when Oromila was in the world doing good works, and his colleagues, his peers, were envious of him, and so they started to lodge all these false complaints with Olodumare, saying that Oromila was shamming people, Oromila was defaming, or Oromila was defrauding people, Oromila this, Oromila that. Olodumare, at the same time, was already hearing other reports of Oromila's colleagues who were actually doing the dirt. And so they were trying to cover up their dirt by putting it onto Oromila. Meanwhile, they were getting all these other complaints to Olodumare. And so Olodumare says, this whole thing is a mess. Send the detractor down there and clean it up, bring everybody back. And so Olodumare sent the detractor to the world, and the detractor came and he showed up at Ogun's place. When Ogun saw the detractor, he got his weapons and he put on his charms and he went to go fight the detractor, and the detractor swallowed him whole. Shango, Obatala, Ashun, everybody, when they met the detractor, they tried to fight the detractor and they were swallowed whole. Meanwhile, Oromila has heard about the sequence of events. He knows his time is going to come. He casts Ifa. Ifa tells Oromila that he needs to prepare all the best foods, all the best drinks, assemble the best drummers, the best dancers, the best singers. On the day of the battle, Oromila, you're not even going to wear a shirt and pants. You're going to wear a wrapper, like a lapa around your waist. You're going to hold your irukere and your irofa in your hands, and you're going to walk with a procession out into the middle of the compound, and you're going to have a feast for the detractor. And that's what Oromila did. When the detractor came, he ate and he drank and he celebrated. And then the time came. He says, Oromila, It's time for us to go. I'm taking you back to heaven. It was then that all of the people who had gathered heard what it said. They said, wait, why are you taking Oromila back to heaven? The detractor said, well, because Oromila is not doing his job. Oromila is cheating people. Oromila is lying. Oromila is defrauding people. Then a woman who had a baby recently stood up. She said, no, that's not true. I couldn't conceive. And it was Oromila who made sure that I had not only conceived, but had a healthy baby. And then the king spoke up. He says, no, that's not true. When there was strife and conflict in my community, it was Oromila who gave me the sacrifice and the remedy to root that problem out. And then the soldier spoke up. He said, oh, no, that can't be true. When we were going into battle and I was outnumbered and outgunned, it was Oromila who told me what to do to be able to outflank my enemies. One after the other, the people stood up to the detractor. Now, this is the detractor who's just taking Ogun, Shango, Obatala, Obaluaye. He's taking all of them. But the people who were benefited from Oromila stood up to the detractor to say, no. That's not true. Oromila is making a meaningful contribution to our lives. You can't take him. And so the detractor said, oh, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Oromila, as you were. And he left Oromila alone. So it is, I'm urging you, when the detractors start to talk badly about anybody who you know is making a meaningful contribution to this community and to this culture and to this tradition, check them. Do not let these people just pop off at the mouth freely. That's how the loud minority gets beside themselves. That's how they get this false sense of security that they can say anything to anybody at any time. And that is not the case. So I urge you in the strongest way possible, let us defend the people who defend our ability to learn, to grow, and to develop in this culture and in this tradition. Aboru aboye, aboshishe.